It's interesting because as much as I love the new M4 iPad Pros, every time I look at the new M2 iPad Air, I can't help but wonder why anyone would pick an iPad Pro over an iPad Air. I mean, sure, on paper the M4 iPad Pro is an absolute beast. It has the better display, the better performance, and you get to experience the newly upgraded Magic Keyboard. So what is it about the new M2 iPad Air that makes it such an intriguing option for pretty much 99% of the population? Well, let's break it down in this video.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall.
How's it going, everyone? My name is RJ and we're back at it again with another iPad video. This time we'll be turning our attention towards the new M2 iPad Air. Honestly, full disclosure, I am an iPad Pro user and I think I'll always be an iPad Pro user. For reasons I'll stay towards the end of the video. But if you're a student or just an individual looking to purchase your first iPad, the new M2 iPad Air might be a solid option. After using this iPad for a bit, I came to the realization that everything I thought about the iPad Air was indeed wrong. But before we do continue, if you guys do find my videos informative, then do me a huge favor and drop a like on this video. It helps me out more than you guys know. You guys would be doing me a solid. And while you're at it, if you guys like my content, then of course do subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, we have about 6 months left in the year and I do plan on ramping up tech content to close off the year. It's going to be a great year, so follow along. Right off the bat this year, you notice that Apple ran out of ink. I opted to go with the blue variant of the iPad Air and this does not look blue to me in my opinion. In fact, under some lighting conditions, it does sort of look gray. There are other color options, but all of them look very muted. I don't know why Apple can't just give us some exciting bright colors. I feel like that'll also help sell the Air lineup a little bit more, but what do I know? I'm just a tech YouTuber with an opinion. This is the 11-inch model of the M2 iPad Air. Apple does offer a 13-inch model as well, but for my use case, I prefer a smaller form factor. I tend to use my iPads as a tablet, actually taking it off the Magic Keyboard and using it on my lap on a couch. So yeah, for those kind of scenarios, I just prefer an 11-inch form factor. It's a big enough display to consume content on, while at the same time it's easy to hold and easy to handle. In my opinion, the 11-inch M2 iPad Air is the best value for money and it sports the best price to performance ratio. As you guys watch this video, you'll understand what I mean. Taking a look at the pricing, the 128GB variant of the M2 iPad Air goes for $799 Canadian. If you want to jump up to the 256GB variant, that's going to cost you another $150. Now, in comparison, if you want to buy the new M4 11-inch iPad Pro, that's going to cost you an extra $450 for the exact same amount of storage. So already in comparison to the M4 iPad Pro, the iPad Air is looking like a good option. For most of you, 128GB of storage should be more than enough. If you combine that with some Apple Cloud storage, it should be more than enough to get by on an iPad. Here's where you will notice a difference. When you compare the Air's display to that of the new M4 iPad Pro's display, you're going to notice the difference. Essentially, you are looking at an LED display versus an OLED display. So there is going to be a noticeable difference. The peak brightness is also much higher on the M4 iPad Pro, 600 nits versus 1000 nits. And here's the kicker, ProMotion versus no ProMotion. The display on the Air's refresh rate is 60Hz, meanwhile the Pro's refresh rate is 120Hz. I personally don't think that this is a big deal as people make it out to be. I'll explain my thought process in a little bit, but what I do want to say is, if you're thinking that you're going to be watching a lot of content on your iPad, the new iPad Pro's display does have much better color vibrancy, deeper blacks, better contrast, and as I mentioned before, a brighter panel. With that being said, quite honestly, if I didn't have the M4 iPad Pro right here to compare alongside with, I'd be more than happy with the M2 Air's display. It's more than good enough for regular content consumption. You're looking at a liquid retina fully laminated display with an anti-reflective coating. Apple makes some of the best displays in the game and this year it's no different. I'm only making this comparison because I have this iPad here to compare it to. Otherwise, this is a great display. Even the bezel sizes are the exact same. Now, regarding the lack of ProMotion on the iPad Air, I really don't mind it. You have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, this is an iPad and not a smartphone. You aren't scrolling on this nearly as much as you would on a regular smartphone, so you can get by with the lack of ProMotion. I'm mostly using my iPad to watch content, take down notes, storyboard ideas, and use the Magic Keyboard as a replacement for my laptop. For my use case, and most likely yours as well, 60Hz is just fine. I think we could drop the ProMotion debate with the iPad Air. Here's something that's actually worth debating. Using a screen protector on an iPad is a must. These are expensive tablets and you don't want to risk getting your iPad's display scratched up. Here's where Paperlike comes in. A screen protector with a twist. Paperlike is legit, and I'm not just saying that because they are the sponsor of today's video. I've been using Paperlike well before I started a YouTube channel, so to finally work with Paperlike on this video is a full circle moment for me. For those of you that don't know, Paperlike is a screen protector with a matte-like finish that reduces glare from light and legitimately feels like you are writing on real paper. Tiny microbeads called nanodots have been engineered to add resistance and improve haptic feedback when you are using your Apple Pencil on the iPad. This emulates the feeling of writing on real paper. I wasn't a believer until I actually started using Paperlike on the daily, and now I don't think I can ever go back to an iPad without Paperlike. You can even hear the difference in pen strokes with an iPad that uses Paperlike versus an iPad that doesn't use Paperlike. Take a listen for yourself. The installation process is super simple, and if installed properly, you will not be able to see a single bubble. If you're in search of a screen protector, I suggest spending extra money and purchasing a screen protector from a brand that you can actually trust like Paperlike. If you want to learn more, there's a link for you guys in the description below, and thanks to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. When it comes to Apple Silicon on an iPad, you really don't have to worry about the performance. I really don't notice a difference in performance between the M4 chip and the M2 chip with my daily usage. Despite the M4 iPad Pro sporting twice as much RAM, gaming, editing, 3D modeling is all just completely fine on the iPad Air. Rendering speeds might be about 10 seconds faster, but what are you going to do with an extra 10 seconds really? Biometrics wise, some of you guys may prefer Face ID over Touch ID. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, then you already know that I prefer Touch ID over Face ID any day of the week. I find Touch ID to be far more convenient. With Touch ID, by the time my iPad is at my face, it's already unlocked and ready to go. Sometimes Face ID doesn't work properly, especially when I'm sitting on a table ready to work. I pull out my iPad, place it down on a table, and what do you know, I'm too high up for Face ID to see my face. I have to awkwardly bend over to get inside of Face ID to unlock my iPad, or I have to manually enter my password like a caveman. With Touch ID, one tap and I'm already in my iPad ready to go. It's far more convenient in my opinion. Speaking of Face ID, the FaceTime camera now on the M2 iPad Air is in the right position. Apple moved it to the center of the iPad. This is where it should have been from the get-go. It makes FaceTiming and Zoom calls all the more convenient. No more worrying about if you're in frame or not. A very subtle change that does make a big difference when it comes to everyday usage. Everything about this iPad so far seems pretty positive, right? And to be fair, there aren't a lot of negatives with the iPad Air, but there is one thing that you're missing out on. I raved about the new Magic Keyboard in my M4 iPad Pro's review. This is one of the best keyboards I've ever used. The typing experience is next level. The keys are tactile, there's good feedback when typing, and it does have a dedicated function row key that makes using the iPad all the more easier. The trackpad is also bigger this year, and it does support haptic feedback. But the thing is, this new keyboard isn't compatible with the M2 iPad Air, a huge miss in my opinion. You're going to have to get the old Magic Keyboard, which isn't a bad keyboard by any stretch of the imagination, but the new one is just that much better. Surprisingly though, the new Apple Pencil Pro does work with the M2 iPad Air, so you get to experience all the benefits of the new pencil. Access to the toolbar by pressing down the lower half of the pencil. You get that nice haptic feedback now, you get a better gyroscope, overall a much better pencil that hasn't increased in price. Apple kept the price the same as the second generation Apple Pencil, a big win. Another use case with the M2 iPad Air is that you can use it as a second monitor alongside your iPad Pro. I use this a lot for editing. It makes the workflow a lot more smoother, and the color accuracy of the iPad Air helps when it comes to color grading C-Log or Apple ProRes log footage. Of course, you can make the argument, hey, why not just get the refurbished M1 or M2 iPad Pro? It's probably more affordable now and more than capable in 2024. And that's a valid argument to make. If you can find a good deal for the refurbished M models, then by all means go ahead. But if you use the Apple Pencil a lot and you care about the placement of the FaceTime camera, then this is the iPad to get. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you guys made it to the end of this video, drop a dolphin emoji down in the comments below. I would love to know who my true supporters are. You guys honestly mean a lot to me and you are truly appreciated. Don't forget to check out today's sponsor, Paperlike. Link is in the description below. And don't forget to flex with your washed out Apple Air tech. I seriously wish Apple didn't run out of ink.